What do you got for us, Chief?
I got a few things. First of all, we were in training all this week because MaceCom has a new software system coming in.
Oh.
So it'll be interesting because technology's caught up with us in MaceCom, and so the whole county will go over to a new software dispatch system. So bear with folks if we're a little slow. People like me, old people, are having a little trouble with new technology.
These days.
So what's the change on this thing?
It's more of an integrated program, and I'll invite them to come on and talk about it once it gets running, but it's all inclusive. Everything's going to be one. Better than the old system, more modern. Evidence can be logged in on this system, and the whole idea is a one-stop shop kind of deal.
So it's not gonna compartmentalize Shelton police information versus Mason County Sheriff information.
No, we'll still share all the information.
Okay,
and we do now, but I think, hopefully, knock on wood, it's a little smoother, a little easier to understand.
Nice.
Yeah.
Does that tie in at all? We had Russ McDowell in earlier from Emergency Management in their Alert Sense program. With the way that they're able to get alerts out, is that similar, or is this a totally different?
A totally different thing.
Okay.
It may integrate that at some point, and I think that's the idea of going to the new program, is it'll make adapting to these other new things a little easier.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's exciting. We'll keep our eyes open on that one.
You know, we had some questions over the last couple weeks regarding the jail issues.
Oh, yeah.
And, I talked about in one of the press releases about jail capacity and about booking restrictions. And there was a lot of questions regarding what booking restrictions are. And it's confusing when you see the whole system. But, and again, I'm not here to bash the county or the sheriff's office or the commissioners, but just the facts of the system that's broke. We're in a crisis right now with this. And the reality is this. I hear people say, well, you could go get a jail somewhere else, go book somewhere else. And we have. We've looked at other places. We've contracted with different jails around the area. That doesn't solve the problem. The problem is you have 200 and something people walking around with warrants. And if those warrants are through Superior Court or District Court through the county, they cannot be booked anywhere.
Okay.
So I can book people on misdemeanors through other jails. But there's certain felonies and property crimes that are not accepted due to the booking. This was put back in place in July of 2017. Sheriff Salisbury sent out a memo to all the law enforcement agencies in the area that due to budget and staffing cuts that these restrictions were being put into place. And so, it's hard for the average person to understand well, why doesn't Shelton just go book their people somewhere else? If it's a felony, or if it's a charge through the county for a warrant that somebody failed to appear on, regardless of what that warrant is for the most part, they don't confirm the warrant because eventually they'll end up back at this jail. There's a system throughout the state where, you get booked in, Thurston County for charges out of Mason County. Mm-hmm. At some point you get picked up and transported back over here. And, Kevin Hansen's an expert on that, can explain that very well. But in essence, if you've got a warrant through the courts here, so it's not just the jail, it's the court system as well.
And that was a little bit of the distinction in one of the stories last week where there was a warrant out, but it was a warrant through the WCC.
Yeah, Department of Corrections.
That person was able to go back there.
We booked him in Nisqually.
Okay.
Nisqually has a contract with DOC to book there, but most DOC warrants, we can't book them into this jail.
Sure.
Interesting.
And so, it's the really good news is the county commission, the sheriff's office, folks are moving forward. And I think the criminal justice working team that gets together has done more in the last several months than it's been done in years. They've got feelers out looking what it would be like to partner with Grace Harbor for a regional facility, or what it would be like to build our own standalone facility. And the old Olson's furniture will now be used as a courthouse, is my understanding. Mm-hmm. I don't know that that's finalized, but that's moving forward. So it'll add some court space and court availability. But we're in a crisis mode, and as such, it doesn't just affect, the county of Mason. It affects the city of Shelton. It affects WSP as the troopers. They can't book. So it becomes a challenge of the whole region. And the long term, I think they're moving forward and doing some wonderful things. Short term, we've got to come to some resolution, and whether that be outsourcing inmates to other facilities or whatever, partnering on some way to be able to get these people. And it's not fair to the people walking the streets either. If they've got warrants, they want to get them cleared up.
Well, yeah.
And they don't. the backlog is incredible.
So you're, as a Shelton police, you're kind of one of the last, not end users of the jail, but you know what I'm saying? It's like you're hopeful and dependent that through the county system there's going to be some openings, and through them they've got to make their own determinations of the amount of beds available. And we've had many conversations about
yes.
who can be with what and where. So I can see how a citizen of the public stopping you on the street going, well, what the heck, man?
Yeah,
We got a jail
and,
here.
and we
What
do
do we
have a
do?
progressive contract with them that's kind of unusual, and that is we contract for 7 beds.
Yeah.
But there are restrictions on who we can book in those 7 beds. So it's not just here's your 7 beds, do whatever you want with them. There are restrictions that go on those as well. You know, like I said, Kevin and Casey have come on and talked ad nauseum about all the different issues that go into that. It's a complicated jail process. But again, it affects everybody. And I think looking at the long term, I think they're moving forward. The commissioners, the sheriff's office moving forward is doing some great things with that, with this whole criminal justice team that includes city representatives, tribal representatives, state representatives. But I think we also got to look at short term, because even if it's like the YMCA, even if you had your money today, how long until you get that facility up?
Yeah.
Right.
So, you know, until that time, we have to come up with some solutions to get us through.
When it comes to the conversations of maybe building a new facility and being the only incorporated city in the county, you're going to be using that a lot, kind of like you are now in the 7 beds in the current jail. What sort of support are you ready to throw behind this effort from the chief of the only incorporated city in the county?
I think they'll get support not only from me, but from the state, from the tribal agencies, because we're all users of that jail.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, it all falls onto the county, but we're not alone in that. It's not unusual for us to run into people that have warrants out in other counties. And they have to confirm the warrant. And by confirm, that means basically we accept that we will take that person on the warrant at some point. You book them into this jail, but we'll take them. It's a crisis in a lot of counties.
See, I didn't know it worked that way. I just figured you got a warrant, you stick them over there, stick them wherever.
That would be,
you have a warrant.
That would
so-
be the easy way to
You
go.
know.
And, you know, we've even offered of we can transport these warrants out of county to another facility.
Is it something about being in the county that you live in, or the county where the crime was committed, for jury of your peers or something, or what's the?
Well, the warrant is issued generally when a couple things happen. In simplest terms, you commit a crime and you don't get arrested, but we write a complaint to the prosecutor's office and they find that there's enough to file charges, they will issue a warrant to bring you in. The other is, which is most common, I believe, which is just failure to appear. Whatever, from a traffic ticket on up to a criminal matter, you fail to appear in court, the judge will issue a warrant, or the court will issue a warrant to bring you back to court to appear. And there are hundreds of those walking around.
Yeah.
Anything from burglary to
Right.
auto theft, assaults on officers. And so those are the things that I think overall the community safety needs to address that issue.
Shelton Police Chief Darrin Moody, during our focus on Shelton, good to see you, talk with you. These are ongoing issues we'll continue to bring up and discuss. Thank you, sir. Good to
Thank
see you.
you.
Have a
Thank
good one.
you.
You guys have a great day.
Go Diners.
8:40. Jeez.